Hello, this is Smartwood Day and welcome to SD Lessons. Today is a special day, 14th of November 2019. It's Children's Day, the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's birthday. So let me take the privilege to welcome you, to wish you Happy Children's Day. And I would also like to tell you few things before I tell you a story of Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle, the Blue Carbuncle. But children, I wish to tell you something. You enjoy your life. Children, this your time, this age is absolutely fantastic in your life. Enjoy it to the fullest. But at the same time, I would like to caution you and tell you that you follow certain things so that you really enjoy your life. 3 things you remember in your life. 1 thing, good sleep. Nowadays, children, they sleep very less. 7 to 8 hours of good sleep is important. Secondly, games, sports, play games, play football, have physical activities because it's very, very important. Nowadays, I notice that many of the children are becoming obese, which is not good. So, enjoy, play games, be active, be healthy. And the third thing is avoid junk food. Eat a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits, so you will be healthy and your mind will be also healthy. A healthy mind can only reside in a healthy body. So once more, Happy Children's Day. Now, let me start. Now, let me tell you the story of Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. It's the Blue Carbuncle. What is this carbuncle? A precious stone, a diamond. I'm sure you have heard or read a lot about Sherlock Holmes. This character, which appears to be real to many, is actually created by Arthur Conan Doyle. He was a physician. In 1859, he was born in United Kingdom and expired and passed away in the year 1930. And although being a physician, he was a very good writer. He created this character, Sherlock Holmes, and his assistant, Dr. Watson, which is so lively. Children love to read it. I'll tell you about this Blue Carbuncle. Now, the story. Sherlock Holmes, he's relaxed. He's on a sofa. He's lounged on a sofa. In the morning, Dr. Watson, his friend and assistant, he comes. Actually, the story revolves in this way that there will be a conversation between Sherlock Holmes and Watson, and that is how we come to know about the story. So, he's seated on the sofa. Beside him, a pile of newspaper just read out, and nearby another chair, and at the back of the chair, one old hat. On the chair, a forceps and a magnifying glass. Now, these are all signs of or symbols of detectives' accessories which he uses to find out, to get clues what actually happened. Now, so Dr. Watson comes in and says, "Did I disturb you? Or are you busy? Are you engaged with any job?" He says, "No, it's nice that you have come and I can share with my findings." And he hinted at the hat. This is the opening scene. And where is it? It is at Sherlock Holmes' house. Now, looking at the hat, he says, on Christmas morning at 4 a.m., police commissioner or commissioner of police, Mr. Peterson, he was coming from his late party at Tottenham Court Road, and he was coming down Tottenham Court Road when from far he notices a tallish man with a little bit of stagger while walking. So there was a row between him, a quarrel, a row between him and few rowdies. One of them dropped his hat, and then he lifts his walking stick and whirls around. While swinging it around, the stick happens to hit the window shop which was behind him and smashes it accidentally. Due to this, what happened? The police commissioner, Mr. Peterson, he rushed there. Actually, he wanted to save this tallish man from the rowdies. But the tall man thought, seeing the commissioner in full uniform, thought otherwise because he smashed the window shop. So what he did, yes, I forgot to mention one more thing. He had on his shoulder a Christmas goose on his shoulder. So what he does, he dropped the goose, his hat was fallen, and he runs away. And the rowdies also leaves the place. Now, this goose and the hat was brought to Sherlock Holmes, and he was examining actually to find out the owner. Now, the conversation, very interesting. Dr. Watson will be asking him that, didn't you return the thing? He says he's trying to find out, trying to identify the man, and that what he got by examining the hat and the goose, he found on the left leg of the goose, there was a small tag mentioned, for Mrs. Henry Baker, a small tag on the left leg of the goose. And the hat which was lying at the back of the chair, he examined it too well. And after examining, he could deduce many things. And that he was telling to Watson, to his surprise. Watson gets very surprised. How can he tell so many things without actually seeing the person? He said, okay, one by one, what he comes to know. Number one, that the person is some HB. It's written in the lining of the hat also HB means Henry Baker, and also on the leg of the goose, Mrs. Henry Baker, most likely the wife of Mr. Henry Baker. So that is one thing. Then he also tells that this man is a middle-aged man. He was intellectual 3 years ago, and now he has become a little dull. He had foresight, good foresight, but then it is little less. He was a well-to-do person, he was wealthy, and now he is not doing that good in business. He has fallen upon evil days. He also says that he is a middle-aged man, also says that he has grizzly hair and he uses lime cream and all these things, and he says that he perspires a lot. He's a middle-aged person. So many things Watson keeps on asking, that how do you know all this? He will be at awe, to which Sherlock Holmes tells one by one. Number one, intellectual person. How can you say? He picks up the hat, puts on his head and claps it on his head. It comes down up to his nose. What does he say? He says that if someone has such a big head, because Sherlock Holmes, it comes down up to his bridge of his nose. If someone has a big head, means the volume of the head is so big, then definitely this person must have something inside this big head. So that is one, that he was intellectual. And what about the foresight when Dr. Watson asked? He says someone, before that I'll tell you why he was well-to-do, a wealthy person. Someone who can afford a hat, with a flat brim, a little curled, that kind of hat which was costly some 3 years ago, and then he hasn't purchased any because the hat is old now, it is cracked. So that means his business is not doing well. That is what Sherlock Holmes tells. And then after that, he talks about, and what about his grizzled hair, what about the lime cream and all that? These are all very simple things. If you, with the hat, if you see the inner part of the hat very closely, you will find that cream, that and the hair that which has been freshly cut. All this you can see it in the inner lining of the hat. So that is very, very clearly visible inside the hat. And why did Sherlock Holmes consider this man middle-aged and having a sedentary lifestyle? He says that by observing very closely the inner lining of the hat, he found moisture. A man who does less exercise, middle-aged, perspires more frequently. And Holmes also tells that his wife most likely has stopped or ceased loving him, loving her husband. And he gives this reason that a man who goes out with a dusty hat, definitely wife has stopped loving him. And when all these things, conversation was going on, then the door gets flung open and the commissioner of police, Mr. Peterson, he comes in and he tells, look what my wife found from the crop of the goose. And he places a diamond, a precious stone, and it was the blue carbuncle. Holmes says, Watson also, everyone amazed, do you know what this precious stone is? And then Watson says it's most likely the blue carbuncle, it's most likely the precious stone. Holmes adds to it, only recently on 22nd of December, it came out in the newspaper that this precious stone, got lost. Countess Morker lost it from Hotel Cosmopolitan. And what was the news? The plumber who was in her room, in the Countess' room, in her absence, to mend a metallic bar of the grate, a frame of the fireplace. So the bar was being mended by the plumber. His name was John Horner, and it was suspicious that most likely that it was accused that John Horner has taken the stone. And who accused him? Another person of the hotel attendant named James Ryder. He says that it was John Horner who was doing some work inside the room, and most likely because he accuses and he witnesses, and he says definitely then it's John Horner who stole it. And it was going on in the court, it came out in the newspaper. This is what. And during this time, what happened? The police commissioner gets the stone, which Holmes says most likely he has to check the size and the shape. Most likely it is that stone. And he also says then he needs to set up a sequence from getting the stone inside the crop of a goose to the incident that happened some 5 days ago. So that sequence has to be made. And then he asks for a paper, he writes few things, he says an ad has to be given, this Mr. Henry Baker, that the goose who dropped the goose and left the hat and went away, fled away, we need to, that is what Holmes said, we need to get that person. So he writes he scribbles and writes one small ad that this goose was found and we need some Henry Baker to claim by 6:30 in the evening. To which Watson says, "Are you sure that this man is going to come?" And Holmes was quite confident, and to the police commissioner he says that the goose, I forgot to mention one thing, the goose which was gradually getting, after 2 days, was showing sign of getting spoiled. So it was given to the commissioner, and he ate it. So he was told by Holmes to get another goose and purchase another goose for this person when he comes to claim that can be given. And exactly the same thing happens. At 6:30 in the evening, a man comes and he claims the goose. Then Holmes says that the goose has been eaten and he looks a little bit upset. But when he was told that he will be given back the goose, then he was feeling better, and it confirms Holmes' thinking, Holmes' opinion that most likely that man was innocent and he knows nothing about the diamond. Now, what do they find out from this man, from this Henry Baker? He takes the goose and goes away. And what do they find? They asked, from where did he purchase the goose? Some Alpha Inn. They go to Alpha Inn. There they find out some Breckenridge salesman has actually sold it to Alpha Inn. And from Breckenridge, they come to know that some Mrs. Oakshott actually supplied the goose to Breckenridge. When they were finding out all these things, then and was about to leave, so Holmes and Watson was doing all this finding out and about to leave Breckenridge, then they noticed there was again very tough talk between him, this Breckenridge, and a short man, red-faced man, and he was pestering that he wanted to get his goose, which was supplied by Mrs. Oakshott. And then this man, the salesman, Breckenridge, he gets very annoyed. He says, "I haven't purchased the goose from you, so you're not supposed to ask me this." And he gets very annoyed. If you pester this, then I'll set a dog on you. So he gets very annoyed and says, "You get away from here, otherwise things will be very bad." Short fellow was about to leave when Holmes overheard all this conversation. He strode fast. He overtakes this short man and he taps him and stops him and tells that, "I overheard something, and are you looking for a goose?" And he mentions all the thing, and I know about what you're trying to get. So he tells, and then this man, all of a sudden, he was taken aback. He says, this is in public place, this is not the right place to talk about this, so let's get in a cab. And he wanted to know his name. He gives a false name. He tells something, John Robinson. But Holmes, being a detective, he said that we cannot talk to alias. Alias means a false name, means the original name. So this man had to tell the original name, and he happens to be this attendant of Cosmopolitan Hotel, and he was James Ryder. So what happens? At the end, they were back. The scene is at the end. End scene is they are back at Sherlock Holmes' house. He opens the strong box. He takes out the carbuncle, and he tells, "This is the one, and your game is over." This man, James Ryder, he gets up, he stumbles, he holds the mantelpiece, he staggers a little bit, and he then sits down. All his expression that he has given up, he got caught. He actually stole the jewel from the Countess Morker's box, and so that no one suspects him, he gives the blame on the plumber, John John. So that was the end of the story. Detective story. Definitely there will be quite a number of links, quite a number of things. So you need to read the story. If you have this in your school curricula, then you read the story in details thoroughly. There are many points in details which you have to know. It's a detective story. Okay, enjoy it. Enjoy reading the story. More in my next lesson. Till then, goodbye. Thank you. And once more, Happy Children's Day to all of you.